We've already had this talk once. I'm getting a little sick. I feel like your parent right now and you're not listening. Blitz is for beginners. We need to start playing Classic Constructed now. Outcast Haven podcast starts now. So it's just me and Dane today. So we're just gonna have some heart-to-heart discussions tonight. And I want to start with a frustration. And I don't know if this is happening just here locally or if it's happening everywhere, but I love playing cards. So you go and you play cards. Nobody's bringing constructed decks. They're all bringing Blitz decks, which I understand. Mm-hmm. But people are saying you learn on Blitz. But let me give this little input. It's way easier to learn over the course of a longer game than in a short spat. And the reason I say this is I played a couple games, not a couple, we played a ton. Me and Kyle locally here played a bunch of games on Sunday, and he was testing new Reiner, which is amazing, against Kano because he hadn't had much experience. So we ran a bunch of those games, and they were pretty 50-50, just back and forth. One of us would win. It was very RNG. Whoever got the great hand won. We played a game where I played, what am I going to call it today?
I like Lavia.
Yeah.
It's a funny.
Yeah, Lavia. And I say it because my last name is pronounced May, so it just naturally the LE has the lay to me. So little history why I call her Lavia. So he had a turn one, which was amazing, where it wasn't turn one. It was like turn two because he had something in the arsenal, but it was a 21 fully intimidating my hand, right? So as a new player coming in the game, that's not really a good way to learn the game because now you're not truly playing the game because you're just playing catch up the rest of the game. Whereas if this is CC, you can actually come back from that. And I know that for a fact because I was up on you, Dane, 35-8 with Bravo, and you won that game.
Yeah. Well, so this is ready. Blitz is really good for getting people interested. Like it's great, fast paced action, big swing combo, shorter. I mean, they pitch it as shorter games. It is a smaller life pool. So it is a shorter format. You all right? You okay over there?
I am. I turned off my mic so don't hear me dying.
Wrong pipe. So I think that there's water held in that argument, right? But I think as soon as you get like the green flag from somebody, like, hey, I'm interested in this game, I'm gonna buy into this game, they should start playing Classic Constructed. Because to your point, that's where you're gonna learn a lot. That's how you're gonna have the time to see things develop in your deck. You're gonna have time to react and make mistakes and not immediately lose the game and have to reset and get back to that game state again. Like there's just a lot of benefit to playing Classic Constructed. And I don't want it to be like this. I feel like we maybe almost overcorrected in how we were so excited for Classic Constructed and how we keep saying it's this is where the grown-ups play is class. But I don't want to even say that because I think that it's just the core game. It's just the good game.
It's a game.
Like anything like UPF, Blitz, those are great. And I did like the Blitz competitive scene. It was fun when we were playing in all those skirmishes, but I'm really excited now that skirmishes are sealed and draft because I don't have to play Blitz. Not that I don't like it. It is a fun change of pace, and you can build decks in Blitz that are good that you can't build in Classic Constructed, and that's fun. You can build decks with a lot more shticks instead of being, very well balanced, at least to what you're trying to accomplish. But I want people to look at CC and say, oh, this is just like the game and it's good. Like it's really good. I don't want them to be like, I need to get to a certain level. I need to practice on Blitz so that I can finally play CC. It's like, no, that's not what we're trying to say. Like when we're talking about it being
so
the big
different.
Boy, it's like when we say it's the big boy version, it's like we are just saying that because everybody was all about Blitz, and people are coming around, and I'm really excited because Classic Constructed is super fun. Like it's like having those 80 cards and like making those decisions and learning how to make those decisions is great. Like that's such a fun part of the game that I hope people start appreciating a lot more and will start coming over to. So that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, my biggest frustration is with no sideboard, you're going to eliminate certain games in the Blitz meta as the meta evolves because you can't sideboard for matchups. Whereas in Classic Constructed, any adult hero, even Azalea, probably not Azalea, but any adult hero can compete, I think, in the new meta. I don't care who it is. They're going to have tough matchups, and you have to find out who your hardest matchup is and sideboard for that. But I feel Bravo, Dorinthia, even Dash could be remade to be well. She's not as good as she was. She's not the powerhouse that she was, but she still could be remade and retooled to have a place in the meta and not just be an auto loss, where there is certain matchups where you may have an auto loss in Blitz, which you won't have an auto loss like that in Constructed because you can sideboard to help mitigate that loss. Mm-hmm. And that's my biggest thing. That's why I like Classic Constructed. And for everybody who thinks the games take too long, if you're a slow player, it's going to take you long in Blitz. It'll take you long in Classic Constructed. You just need to learn your cards better. We've all gone through the growing pains, myself included. I play much faster than I did when we started this game almost a year ago now, Dane. How crazy is that? We're 2 months out from a year of playing this game.
No, we started we were playing. Well, the channel started 2 months from now.
Right, well, but yeah, we were playing in June.
We were playing in.
Were we playing in May?
Yeah, early to mid May was when I bought my first stuff.
Yeah, because me and my wife were playing. So, and all we knew back then was Classic Constructed, and that's how we learned. Mm-hmm. And it's fine. You just have to, if you're scared, just stick your toe in the water, then jump in. I mean, it's not that bad, and I would love to see more people playing Classic Constructed, because the other piece of this is, if you go to a meetup, and we had a blast Sunday. We had a meetup at our local game Zenter. Did you catch that?
Zenter, yeah.
Zenter.
It's the 90s all over again, just throwing Z's into words because it's cool.
This wasn't a tournament. It was just basically our Twin Cities saying, hey, does anybody want to meet up? And 14 people just met up to just play random games. Just no prizes, just have fun.
Not even a weekly. It was literally that morning Chris posted on the local Facebook page, I'm going to be there at noon, and 14 people were like, yeah, cool, I got free time today, let's go. It just showed up in jam games till 5. It was fantastic.
So the game's growing amazingly. I mean, I can't imagine, it can't be just here in the Twin Cities. Twin Cities has always been good for card games, but it's growing amazing. So the fact that many people showed up that quickly on that short of notice just shows me, just put a little extra work into the CC, because if you make a CC deck, I had Chain CC. I dropped him down to Blitz. It took me 5 minutes because it didn't need to be a perfect build. It just needed to be a functional build and have fun with. So I just threw it down, and it's easy. But if you don't have the CC built, then you have no option to go both ways, whatever your opponent has. So it's just build it out. If it sucks at the locals and when you're having fun like we did, people are there to help, and you have people to bounce ideas off. Just playing with Kyle and his Reiner versus Lavia, I really like Reiner better. I think Reiner's a great Blitz deck. I would like to see that in a Classic Constructed format, because I think he can do some amazing stuff in CC with some of these new tools. With Terror Limb from Limb, that card's amazing. It's just we need more people playing it. So that's kind of my soapbox again. And hopefully not everybody's having the same issue.
No, I mean, and just to make one last point, and then we can move on, is the fact that Blitz is just easier barrier, less barrier to entry as well. You only need 2 copies of 2. You only need a 40 card deck. You don't need to have that thinking process going into playing a game. You don't need to have an 80 card deck assembled and thought through. There is just, Blitz is simple. 52 cards total. Slap it down, play a game. So there's that. So if you're playing Blitz and you're starting out, great, dude, just happy to have you. But if you have been playing Blitz and at all interested in Classic Constructed, make that swap. Start playing Classic Constructed because that's the game. That's what we need. This is what we play for.
So just me and Dane. So I wanted to veer off of Fab for a little bit and then come back to it at the end.
I like that.
We'll come back to it at the end, but I just want to talk TCGs in general and kind of, this is an easier back and forth chat that we can have with just two of us of different games that are out there, where you think they're going to fall, what the COVID impact is. And I know we just talked to our buddies in Australia. They're getting locked down again. Meanwhile, here, I mean, in Minnesota, we're damn near 70% vaccinated and we've opened up. I mean, I posted in the group chat. I mean, my whole family is fully vaccinated. I mean, we can walk among the zombies freely now. They can't harm us anymore, Dane.
Yeah, I just watched Army of the Dead with Dave Bautista about that Las Vegas. Yeah, man. Like, I don't know why I brought that up. I'm just talking about zombies, but it was a really good movie.
Yeah, walk amongst the zombies.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of curious of like where you think, and we'll just hit some different games that we've played and had experience with, where you think it's at, how you think coming out of COVID it's going to be. Yeah. And this is something where I really want to hear the community's input on this, of where they think, because it is important. If your main game is Fab, which that is our main game, I do like playing secondary games. Where is your secondary game going to be? Who's going to fall? Who's going to come out of this? Because they can't all come out on top. So we're just going to start with DBS, Dragon Ball Super. So I'd posted in our group chat, they have a lot of product launching between now and December. A lot of product.
Yeah, they got their release schedule got squished down because they had a pretty major delay with their last set. So it kind of got
which everybody did.
Yeah, I mean there was nothing that came out on time basically, but it was like a similar delay to Fab. I guess a little longer, but that I think just compressed their timeline a little bit. They've got the next set coming out closer to this one because they don't want to delay everything now. So I mean, are we just talking like
how do you think that's going to affect them? I mean, I look at it. I got out of DBS for that reason. I couldn't keep up with it. I kept having to change my decks.
Yeah,
so that was tough for me.
It's a different monster for sure. Like I'll be honest, I didn't buy into the last set at all. I'm gonna buy singles and just call it good with that because I bought 2 sets ago now, the previous set before this most recent one. I bought, my case, whatever it was, got all the cards I wanted. There was like one archetype that I was even vaguely interested in, just traded for all those and sold like the rest of my case. And man, like I basically came out even, but getting the cards that I wanted to play. But yeah, dude, it's just crazy. Like that's a game where I'm going to have like my 1 deck or 2 decks that I'm going to play and, maybe whip something up for fun, but it just hasn't held its ground in my mind like Fab has. And I also acknowledge that Fab is like hot right now and that games go through like an ebb and flow. And, at the end, like January, February of this year, I was all in on DBS, having a blast with that because Fab was, after 2 months, 3 months of the same meta, not a whole lot changing. It kind of, that falls off. So there seems to be good balance. It's just DBS. I will say, to Fab's credit, if something pulls you away from Fab for a little bit, like life gets hectic, something happens, so you get busy, you're not going to come back and be like, well, I am so far away from being anywhere near having what I need. It's like, chances are you come back and 1 set has come out and then Unlimited has already dropped. So you've got 1 set to buy into. I mean, even with like a newborn, like if you're busy for a year, like the first year of their life, you just don't have time to play Fab or can't spend the money to keep up, whatever it is. And you come back, you've got 2 main sets and a supplemental set that you need to buy into to be back caught up. Like that's kind of awesome. I know that the meta is going to get a little more stale, but like right now, because I have no interest right now in buying into what I've missed on DBS. Like I said, I'm 1 set behind. I don't have any intention of like pre-ordering the next set. So when this game does start to like maybe Fade, the meta gets a little stale and I'm looking for like stuff to just fill other time with, I don't know that I'm going to be willing to go back to DBS and be like, all right, let's buy these 7 sets I'm behind on, because I, was really focused on Fab for 4 months. Like, so I don't know. That's a good.
So you made a really good point here, and I'm going to relate this to Fab is
I'm going to, I gotta timestamp this because I'm going to save the moment where you said I had a good point. All right, cool. Go ahead.
We'll just put it in the comments and mark that I said Dane had a good point. So
Jason agreed with Dane here, timestamped. All right, go
ahead. So you mentioned that the archetypes don't interest you in DBS. So do you think with Fab, we're going to have more than likely when Kingdoms is released, we're going to have 2 new talents? I can't imagine that we're going to see Shadow or Light. I have to imagine that we're going to see 2 new talents.
Did you watch that James White interview?
I have not. I just started it. Life's been busy.
So there's a couple things I want to point out before you continue. When he mentioned Kingdoms the first time, he said Kingdoms. Like he did the quote thing.
So that's not the actual name is what you're saying.
I don't know, but it was interesting.
Okay, I don't know how to react to that because I don't know if that means Kingdoms like, oh, we're messing with you, that's not the name, or Kingdoms 1.0 and Kingdoms 2.0. So that could be anything.
What do you mean 1.0 and 2.0? Is there like a secret meaning?
Like there's multiple versions of Kingdoms. Like it would be the first time in this. There's been WTR, Arcane, Monarch, and then also you have Kingdoms.
I didn't follow you on the leap. My bad.
Yeah.
So I don't. There's something else too about that interview that I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. Oh, talked about the sealed for Kingdoms. That got me super excited.
Oh, I heard that part. Yep, I saw. Yeah. Yes,
I think I messaged you.
That'll be the best sealed.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like hands down the best sealed like set that they've come out with.
So that.
Exciting. But anyways, back to I just want to point out the Kingdoms thing.
Yeah. So do you think the archetype that will affect this game? So people now, me as a Wizard player, if I go to a Blitz tournament tomorrow, I will still play Kano, even with all the new stuff. I just like Kano. Kano can fight any of these. He's not going to auto lose to pretty much anything. We even tried really, really aggro Prism, and Kano can still sometimes pull off a 20 damage turn, so he can still hang. It's not his best matchup.
I want to replay that, I'll be honest, because that was not, I didn't build it super aggro. I was playing that weird middling build, and I'm not running Prism. But yeah, anyways.
But even if you do build that super, super aggro, you're going all in that Kano's not going to kill you. You know what I mean? And Kano can do 20 damage in a turn, and you have to be able to just do the 15. But anyway, we're not going to get into that now.
Yeah.
I'm just saying he's what I would play. I like him. He's fine. So now if we go another set and there's no Wizard support, let's say I'm only a Kano player, like you said with DBS, the current archetypes you don't enjoy them. Do you think there's going to be any fall off in Fab because the archetypes aren't going to suit people, or do you think they're going to bring it back enough that between these 2 sets, people are going to be happy?
I think one of 2 things are going to happen. And if you've followed us for a while, you know that 5-6 months ago, I felt very strongly that attribute mixing was going to be important to make sure that people always looked forward to something new in the new set coming out. Like say they didn't have a ton of excess capital or whatever, like their life just didn't allow for buying a bunch of stuff and effectively buying into a new game every time a set dropped because their class wasn't getting supported, allowing them to supplement their stuff. Like, oh, I can always mix 2 classes so I can see what they got and see if maybe I want to throw these new assassin cards into my Katsu deck because I really love Ninja. That didn't happen. And I think that's going to result in one of 2 things. You're going to have people that are okay with it because they have enough time in between sets that they're going to be able to buy into the sets. I think that that's going to be okay. Like, I think that people are going to see the new classes coming out and they're going to say, oh, cool. This is the class from this set that I'm really interested in. I haven't spent money on cards since 3-4 months ago, so I can afford to buy into this, and that's going to be fine. So there's that. Or I think that you're going to have people that aren't okay with it because they do just really love their one class, but it's not going to push them out of the game because they're still going to be able to play that class. It might not be like the new hotness, but again, there's like, I kind of weirdly like the slow pace of the release. Like, do I wish that it was more? Yes, but also it's kind of a breath of fresh air that I'm not having to hunt down tons of new product every month and a half or 2 months. So I think that that's actually going to help the fact that they don't have attribute mixing or some way to like keep people like invested in all of the sets coming out, because they're not coming out that often. So I don't think that they're going to have that struggle like other companies have had that struggle, looking at like Cardfight Vanguard and like these games that have so many different like archetypes. I think it's going to be fine because of the way that they've built the game. So
and to your point, once again, kind of agree with part of it. It's just weird. This is like the bizarro world where
Twilight Zone.
I agree with you again. Yeah, Twilight Zone. Thank you. That is exactly what I was looking for. Jesus, you're in my mind right now, man.
I'm actually
in my mind.
The thing is that we're gonna stop this podcast. And I'm gonna my aneurysm is gonna complete, and I'm gonna just fall over dead. This is actually just all one big hallucination.
Oh, that's funny. Later in the podcast, I'm gonna bring up a point to go off that. So, to your point, Cale McCreath, I've been talking to him prior to Dice Jar, and I honestly thought he was going to do Prism or Chain the way he was talking. And I didn't talk to him much. Just a couple quick chats of what he was looking at. So post Dice Jar, I talked to him a little bit more. And I mean, he took Bravo and he added the car in the decks list is out. He added like Rouse the Ancients and Out Muscle or Out for Muscle, whatever it is. And then he changed and tweaked some of the interior cards a little bit, but not a ton. So he just took his matchups, the Forge from Wars that weren't always in there were back in there. Stonewall Confidence came back in there. So other, those were good tech pieces, which also just work when you add blue ones of those into Bravo. So he took a deck that got 0 support and beat all the new decks with it.
Yep.
Right. So I think that sometimes you only need the new cards that you get. So you get these nice generics. So obviously Rousey Ancients was made for Bravo. So even though it was a generic, that card was one that you could put Guardian on that card and it would make 100% sense. Right. They gave Guardian its one go ahead card. I tried it in Lavia. She's not consistent because you have to pitch 3. So a lot of times you don't have the 8s and the 9s and the 11s to easily make that 13 number. So I think they did a good job of that. There's other cards that haven't been fully realized in Ninja that because you've been so focused on Prism. I think there's cards out there that will help Ninja as well. I mean, Belittle, Minimalism, things like that. There's all kinds of cards.
I'm ready to run my Benji list. I'll be honest. Like that Belittle Minimalism ad, I want to mess with that for sure. But yes,
right.
To your
so
point,
there's definitely generic cards that they did a good job. That if you sit back and look at them, they make sense in certain classes. Like any generic, there's some generics that work in every class, but they definitely made generics that work well in very specific classes. So I think that you can take one of those decks and pop 3 to 6 cards in and still be competitive. And I know we had Matt Rogers on here 2-3 weeks ago saying the new ones won't last. The more and more we play these, the more I'm thinking they're going to have a tough time in certain these, but I don't think they're going anywhere. Dorinthia is definitely not going anywhere in America. Maybe she is in New Zealand, but she's not in America.
I do disagree with you a little bit. So I think that part of it is that people just have more experience with those decks, and there's a comfort level to I've got 500 games on, or I'm not speaking about Kale directly here, but just like I've got 500 games on Bravo or Katsu or something like that, and I've got 3 games on Chain. I'm going to tweak my Bravo and be able to play Bravo very well into all of these people that are in their games 10 to 20 with these new decks. So I think that I think there has been power creep with these new heroes. Absolutely. And I think that we're not seeing the extent of that yet because there is still that comfort level. And I think it almost speaks opposite to your point that new decks are so prominent in winning now. Like Chain is doing so well now, despite the fact that people are running older decks. Like the fact that
No,
Chain,
I agree to
you know
that.
what I mean?
Yeah, but I still think some of these older decks will still compete.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying that that's not true. I'm just disagreeing.
Even as the meta gets defined.
Yep. And I think that older decks are always going to be there. I don't think that they're getting removed from the meta by any means. But I just think that the new decks have more tools and do things differently and better than some of the older like vanilla decks. Like the flexibility of Prism and Chain, even like the aggressive, like the ability to build advantage with Chain doesn't exist really in older decks. Like his social
I will say Chain, we saw a very different iteration at the Dice Jar tournament than what like I would run of Chain. So that was very different.
Yep.
I think Chain
like your
works
build
better, more aggro. I like my build more as well. But I think he's also kind of a one-trick pony in that you know what's coming. So you kind of know what's coming. Prism is definitely you don't know what build you're going to get. That person could sideboard differently. They could have played you in Swiss, and then you might meet him in top 8, and that Prism player could sideboard 100% differently to throw you off. So you're like, oh, this is an aura build player. I'm pulling all these 6 attacks out because I have all these auras coming at me. I have to run this deck different. And you're like, well, I'm going to gamble. I'm pulling my auras. I'm going with a big Phantasm type build or Phantasm build. And you could beat them because of that, which I do love that part of the game, that there is a psychological, very poker-like, even before you start playing the game, you have that poker-like feeling because you don't know what build you're going to get. Yeah. So to your point, Prism is that way. I don't think Chain is quite as much as that way as Prism is.
No, but Chain is very Dorinthia-esque in the sense that you know what they can do, or like you know what is coming to a certain extent. Like obviously you don't know their hand, but
can you stop it?
Exactly. Like it's gonna happen. And it's like, okay, they're getting 6 cards next turn into their banish zone. Hopefully they miss. It's like, hopefully you don't have the attack reaction to go over the top on me, Dorinthia. Like, it's just very much like that feeling, like playing into Chain the way that you have it built, and the way that I think the deck wants to run, feels very much like playing into Dorinthia in the sense that I'm going to do this thing and, push pressure while still like giving me an opportunity to like mitigate a little bit, depending on what you have in hand for Dorinthia or what you're, possibly going to hit me with next turn, or what you left in your banish zone from the previous turn. It's like,
right.
But at the end of the day, like it's gonna just come down to what you have and what you don't have, because you're gonna do your thing. Chain's doing his thing.
I like that. Blake is gone,
and I had to
and you got it
just for him.
Yeah, you threw it in there for him. That was amazing.
I almost didn't, and I stuttered there a little bit because I was like,
no, I saw you think you really gave it some thought, and then you're like, no, I'm just going for it. Okay, I don't care. I'm going. I appreciate that type of commitment.
Yep. I had to do it for him. He's not feeling well, so.
No, he's not. So I'm going to move on to the next card game. And a little interesting story on this one. So the other one, the next one I'm going to do is Force of Will. Obviously, Force of Will has been around a long time. And I'm using this game as an example because I'm familiar with it, know it and played it, and know what the meta does and who plays it. But it's been around since 2015, so we're on year 6. A content creator, one of the very few and only content creators, Ruler School, just put out a video, 15-minute video, trying to pull Magic the Gathering players to that game. Okay, which was a very good idea. So he messaged me and sent me the the link and the video, and my reply was, if it wasn't for you, there would be no traction on this. But the company has done nothing on their website to help it. And I use an example, and I know like people who love their games don't like to hear about other games. It's like, you know, calling their baby ugly. I love that term. Sorry, I'm going to use it again.
You do use
so you're calling their baby.
I should have used. I should have used it last week when you were gone in honor of.
Yeah, you could have.
That's all right.
So I brought up the fact that the moment Magic the Gathering announced that they're getting rid of their pro player tour, to the moment that Flesh and Blood TCG website had the new tiered program was what, 3 days?
I have to believe that there's some sort of communication happening, like ripples in the water of knowing kind of what was coming.
Understandable. James White's been in the industry forever, so he probably got some. But the fact that he did have that rippling and acted upon it upon hearing what was coming and made something to be like, we can capture an audience, because there is the competitive scene that the really competitive card player wants a really competitive card scene where they can go out, not live a normal life, and chase money. Okay, that's the dream. It's like your kids want to be a pro athlete when they grow up. Some kids want to be a pro card player. I mean, they're weirdos. Well, what can I say? Now we're all playing cards. I don't know. But I will say this game has positioned itself well in the current climate, because COVID, like I said, COVID's over here. It's almost over in the US. Traveling's opening up.
Knock on wood. Like right now, like
it's good. We're in a good place.
Yeah. Do you remember? I don't remember if it was Harry, Dave, or Toby that were talking mad when they were like, oh, we're going out to bars and we're playing at locals, and we're just like, oh, we're still in lockdown, and they were just rubbing it in. It's like, okay, but now here we are 6 months later and they're going back into lockdown. So
Australia's going in lock. What is wrong with your country, Australia? I mean, I'm vaccinated. I've got the microchip in me. They can track me. That's fine. But at least I can walk and do whatever I want.
You know what? I'm jumping on the next bandwagon is
what's that?
This belief that if you've got the vaccination that you can spread like infertility. So like you being around.
That's from the Amazon show. I can't think of the name of it. Do you remember the name of it, Beth? I can't think of the name of it.
But I'm gonna become infertile because you got that vaccine and I'm around you. So I'm gonna start wearing a mask to protect myself.
So I have spread the infertility to you.
The fact that it has come all the way back around full circle to the fact that anti-maskers and anti-vaxxers are like wearing masks to protect themselves from the infertility that will be spread to them through people who have been vaccinated. So now they're wearing masks is the funniest shit to me. Like, that's so goddamn good.
Can I say I'm mixed on the situation as having a 16-year-old son with a girlfriend right now my son is vaccinated. So is that bad that he's infertile now? That I don't have to be a grandpa at 42? I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, is it?
I don't know. To just make sure he doesn't go around saying, oh, don't worry, I'm infertile. Like, that's...
What is that? That could be the new pickup line right there. It's funny because my son plays X-Wing, loves X-Wing. That's his favorite game. They're starting back up right now. So even that's starting to pop again. And we saw it when we were playing Fab on Sunday. People are playing X-Wing.
Yeah.
So everything's coming around. So I'm wondering who's going to die. You have Digimon out there. That's a big one. That's catching steam, but they're having issue. Bandai, I don't know how Bandai is going to run 2-card games at the same time and have a good release schedule because they've been short product. Magic seems just wanting to shoot themselves in the foot at every opportunity they can. What else is big right now? Cardfight Vanguard is making a big push. Gate Ruler was my gamble. It's really done nothing. I bought the boxes. I enjoy the game. They're trying to push it from a company perspective got comprehensive rules out, doing a great job of trying to push a tournament series with promos, but I don't know because you need players for that. So that's another tough thing. So
yeah, I am holding out, not buying in anything, and I'm committing to the My Hero card game. Like
My Hero with Unit Versus. So that's another interesting one because I kind of bought a lot of that and played with you a couple times, and then I met out with the locals a couple times, and then I played in 1 or 2 tournaments, got destroyed. That community is absolute trash.
Hey, Pat.
Absolute
Sorry
trash.
about the inappropriate comments. Please forgive me and don't judge me.
I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to tell the truth. I did not like that community. Hopefully it's different with the MHA community. Like just playing in a tournament, trying to get help. Like I'm going to lose the games. And I said that. And well, this is a tournament. It's like, okay, well, I'm just not going to play anymore. And you can play with the same 20 guys that you've been playing with for the past 4 years with 2 product releases. You know what I mean? I mean,
Jasco has been good about like their product releases and like the customer support. They're a smaller company, which I get that, but it seems like they've got their head on their shoulders. I've been keeping up with all, like they call them the Joffis. It's like their like weekly or bi-monthly update about what's going on with it. The one thing that has been pissing me off about it is they keep like dangling information like, hey, like do this to get these many likes and we'll tell you. It's like, how about because it was delayed a year, you just tell us and don't like. So I will say this, I unliked their Facebook page when they're like, if we get to 30,000 likes, we'll give you the release date. And I was like, the you just say? Like that, the release date that we have been waiting for like a year? Yeah, unlike that. I hope this takes longer now. Like what is that? That irked me a little bit. But the game itself, like the infrastructure that they're building around the game itself and the amount that they're putting into it is good. I think that it's going to do well. And it's such a huge IP that I would be hard pressed to think that they're going to have a hard time selling it. They've got a ton of support for it. It's their flagship game. So they've got like little board games and stuff, but it's not like they've got the Bandai problem of Digimon and DBS and providing supply for both of those. So I'm going in on that because I love the IP and the system itself is really fun. I really do like playing universes, or what used to be UFS, the artist formerly known as UFS. I like playing that system. So I'm gonna be all in on that. And I was just looking through my DBS cards, like, what can I sell? Make a little extra money.
DBS, yeah, I still have a ton of it that I have to go through and sell because I haven't played it for 4 to 6 weeks, and it's gonna die. I just started selling Digimon out just because their release and short product, no true answer for it. So I'm kind of out on Digimon. I'm hoping with Kingdoms we'll see Unlimited hit at the same time as first edition, or as I think Blake was the first one that said pre-release is first edition, release is Unlimited.
I don't think we will.
Maybe not. I think the biggest problem though is Cardamundi's probably still behind on printing. They just can't print the product fast enough. They're making up from months. I mean, I've had Kickstarters that are just starting to hit my door that I bought 1.5 years, 2 years ago, right before, Kickstarters are late as they are for board games. But then we had, once COVID hit, China shutting down factories, then they open them up, then the new year, then they shut them down, and then they open up and something else will hit and they shut them. So it's been a weird time for that. But once they start printing back at 100% capacity and get caught up, I'll be interested to see how the model changes at that point in time, if we do see Unlimited drop much quicker, because many people have said, I mean, I think New Zealand was happy to get the Unlimited first. They didn't seem upset at all.
No, they loved it.
Not one person said a negative word about getting Unlimited first. They're happy. I would love to have Unlimited first. I mean, as Blake said last week, I got my cold foil safe. That's where my guns and cold foil sit. That's where they're at. It's weird to put cards in my safe, but I am, because that's the world we live in right now.
Does Blake own a gun? I don't.
No, he just said he has a safe.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if that's where his guns and cold foils sit. I don't know
No,
if that's
that's
a gun
I have a
hiding.
safe with my guns and cold
Yeah,
foils.
yeah.
I don't
Oh,
think
no.
Blake owns a gun.
We've got guns. Let's not.
Yes.
Right now, you can buy a gun. So as a stand-up comedian that I love says, like, when they're all available, think about getting them. And then when you bring it up to your wife, like, why do we need a gun? It's like, I don't know. We might want water in 10 years. So.
All right, and now, so here's my ending thing I want to talk about. You ready for this one, Dane?
Oh, I'm not done yet.
Oh, you're not done? All right.
No. Oh my God, what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something actually. Oh,
I got this one.
This is all right. Ready? Okay.
Yep.
This is why I don't think that the unlimited release is going to be moved closer to, because in that interview with James White, they asked him, like, you know, about the releases and how it's currently set up, and his response was, well, the reason that unlimited is releasing so soon after first edition is because we want cards in players' hands. And immediately I was like, oh, this is soon to you.
Oh, got you.
Like, yeah. So I was like, oh, this is the good outcome. Woohoo. Like, that's kind of that sank my heart a little bit, because I was really hoping that they were gonna, in New Zealand, see that first edition coming out after did not affect first edition sales. That's not going to change. You're going to sell your first edition. But building all of this hype, letting people capitalizing on that hype of people that are like, oh, dude, it's release weekend. I can just walk into a store and buy a box. I don't have to have set up a 3-month ahead of time pre-order. I can just walk into my shop, play a pre-release and be like, or play a, you know, release weekend draft and be like, oh, I love this, I'm getting a box. And you just go and buy an unlimited box. That isn't going to happen. Sorry. All this hype that we're building, sit on your thumbs for 3 weeks. So,
all right.
Anyways, back to what you're doing.
Okay. You can leave this part in, but you might want to pause here because I got to take a leak, because we're going to finish strong with this, and you're going to love my last talking point.
Perfect. I'm going to take a piss too.
It is the end. You're just going to cut this, so they're going to come back, but I'm going to talk about the end of all TCGs happening in 10 years. The end of them. Maybe 20.
Okay.
You ready for this?
Yeah, cool. I'm going to go to the bathroom.
All right. I am super excited because you'll like this, Dane. I know this is right up your alley. Okay.
Here we go.
So you know how a work conversation starts somewhere and it takes drastic turns?
Yep.
So we were talking about Starlink, because I saw Starlink fly over.
Yeah.
We saw the satellites go over on a bonfire on Saturday. So I was telling a guy at work. So then we started talking about Elon Musk. Okay. And a lot of people hate Elon Musk. That's fine. You can love him, hate him. Don't really care. But he has something that he has been talking about called Neuralink. Have you heard of this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the initial Neuralink implants is a chip in your brain that can stimulate parts of your brain to help with blindness, deafness, Alzheimer's. But because of what it can do, you're talking about reprogramming a brain almost the way you want to in any capacity, and almost having a separate hard drive. So we're talking like cyberpunk almost.
Mm-hmm.
And to the point that in 20 years, you might be able to have a chip in your head that almost makes your memory photographic if you need it to be.
Oh, yeah, I'm playing card games. Cool. Let me just put my card game SD card in there. And
right. So you play a card game, you put that in there. You take a game like Fab with pitch zones and everything like that, you will retain all the information through of yours and theirs with, you know, it just processes it like a computer. How insane if that, like, I didn't even hear about this, and I don't know if anybody else heard about it, but Neuralink, it's kind of scary what they're talking about. And what it initially does is for good, but man, it's something that you would only think was in a sci-fi movie, and this is right here and close. This is like they're working on it right now. we're talking 5-10 years before this is in a human's head for the blindness and that kind of stuff.
Hey, that's why I have a gun safe. Like, I'm waiting for the hacker to come through and just like turn everybody off, and all of a sudden we're fighting for gardening space in the neighborhood. Like, you've got the good soil. Like, it's
kind of scary. It's kind of scary. Like, it would ruin card games. So of all the other things I talk about, my main concern is like, but don't, it just really
scares me. It really scares me. Think what it'll do to Fab.
What would it? The pitch zone is dead because of it.
Oh my god. Yeah, at that point, I don't think we'll be worried about card games though, so it's okay. No, I'm not even going to stress about it.
I just thought that was an interesting thing to bring up, and then I looked into it. I'm like, this isn't even fake. This is like a real thing, and kind of actually a little bit freaky.
Mm-hmm. For sure. You know what terrifies me more than anything else though? Like, looking at technology wiping out humanity. Just whenever I go on those kicks, right? The robot dogs, dude, or like the fast robots, like how fast they can make robots. It's like you're not going to be able to see, or you'll catch like a glimpse, and you will have to constantly fear like these robots moving faster than your human eye can move, and you're just it's gonna be like that scene from Signs, where it's like the video of the birthday party happening in like Brazil, and all of a sudden it cuts over to the alleyway, and you just see like the alien like walk across the alleyway, and it's like
one of my favorite scenes ever too.
Oh dude, it scared the shit out of me. Like when I was 20, like it's the first time
Mason couldn't watch it when he was younger either. It scared the piss out of him as well. So
dude, my buddies knew I hated aliens. So when we first moved into our rugby house in college, because we didn't have like fraternities or anything, but we had like sports houses, and me and the other captains of the rugby team or whatever we got a house. And when we first moved in there over the summer before my senior year, my buddies were like, dude, let's just do like an alien movie marathon. And we watched like Dark Skies and stuff like that. And
Dark Skies is amazing.
We legit just like slept down. We slept down like in our living room with like our 6 couches or whatever. We just slept on the couches like all together. We were all
tinfoil over the brains?
No, we did have an emergency plan though of like what we would board up first. Like, just shit hits the fan. So,
I mean, we could turn this from a fab podcast to a UFO, because I mean, they just release all kinds of government stuff at UFO. We could take this a million different places, but we won't.
How crazy was 2020 that the fact that the government came out with, oh, hey, UFOs for sure exist and we don't know what they are, that got blown past with all the other, like, how is that not the thing we're talking about? Oh, wait. Who cares?
But because once again, we were talking about this at work, because that's what you do while you're at work. It's because that they know there's an imminent invasion. It's like, oh, we can sugarcoat this. That way people won't go crazy and loot and riot and kill each other if we just desensitize it right now. Just like you see murders and everything. Look at how immune we've come to everything in this world. So that's just what they're doing. They're like, oh, there's aliens, no big deal. We'll figure it out. You guys just go to bed softly and it'll be fine.
No, I mean, I'm more talking about like there's so much happening that the alien thing got blown past by the public.
Well,
like, the public
absolutely.
was so worried about other stuff. Not that the government was sugarcoating it, which they.
But it's part of the plan. But, it's all part of the plan. But anyway, Dane, coming into skirmish season, I'm ready for calling season, wherever that is. We'll hit a skirmish here too. Not many. It's summer here in Minnesota, and I know I'm outside a lot, and
I got a wedding to we got to wrap up our planning for. Like, we're gonna be busy in this house, but I'm excited for sealed. I want to do some sealed and draft skirmishes. I'm kind of over the Blitz thing. I want to do sealed and draft skirmishes, and I want to do team sealed. I want us to actually like be prepped for team sealed. I need you to.
You guys a lot of
Jason.
Work on me. For team sealed.
We'll go through. We'll do pick one, pack one, pick one, whatever F or whatever. Well, for draft.
My whole 500 record in sealed ain't gonna cut it. I'll tell you that much.
No. No, it'll be good though. I am excited for skirmish season.
Yeah, that's all I got for you. Just a little, some UFO talk, some fab talk, a little Neuralink talk, and we're good for the night, for the week.
I think so. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us. If you haven't watched or hadn't seen us on our Tuesday night live stream, want to just shout out again the Cancer Society of New Zealand charity event being put on by Matt and Nick over in New Zealand, but it's going to be a global thing. Like if you're anywhere, you can participate. There's a link on our podcast video that we hosted, Matt and Nick. Had them on. They basically walked through like the prizing, everything they're doing to support that. So definitely check that out. They've got in that description a link to the Facebook page as well as to the Card Merchant event so that you can go there and get that information. And at the very least, look at it, support it however you can, whether it's playing, whether it's just donating, whatever it is. Really good cause. Benefits a really, really good cause that has affected some community pillars. So check that out. Thanks for joining us. And again, for leaving your feedback in the comments. We do sincerely appreciate that, even if we come off snarky sometimes, because you're basically calling us out on something that we've been called out on many times. We're human. We apologize, but we do still appreciate the fact that you guys care enough to comment. That's all I got. Jason, any final words?
Neuralink coming to a brain soon.
Not even to a brain near you. Okay, cool. That's good. All right, guys, we'll talk to you next time. Peace.
See ya.